Sleepy Myths welcomes you to a world just beyond the veil, a world where voices from long ago hum softly in the night, tales of gods who walked among us, queens with golden hearts, and creatures too strange for daylight. These are the stories the stars remember, and now, so will you. Let the myth begin. You are lying still now, body folded into the soft hush of your bed, yet even here, gravity whispers to every cell. It pulls the blanket closer to your skin, anchors your bones to the earth, and holds the moon in silent orbit above you. You do not see it, but you know it's there, every moment, gently reminding you that you belong to the ground beneath you. Gravity has always been your quiet companion. It doesn't rush or shout. It simply exists, always pulling, never letting go. As a child, you learned to fall before you learned to walk. As an adult, you feel its touch when your arms tire, when your spine leans toward rest. It is never loud, but it is always present. Gravity doesn't ask you to believe in it. It proves itself in every step, every drop, every fallen apple, every dream that floats, yet stays tethered by your sleeping weight. But beyond this familiar gravity, the kind that gently cups you in sleep, there is another version, wilder, deeper, endlessly patient. Out there, gravity sharpens. It doesn't simply hold, it swallows. Somewhere far from your room, far from Earth, there are places where gravity becomes hungry. Imagine a star, far older than your sun, its core heavy from years of fusion and flame. For millions of years, it burns brightly, holding its shape through perfect balance. Outward, it pushes. Inward, gravity pulls, a stalemate written in fire. Then, like a final sigh, the fuel runs dry. The outward push weakens, and the inward pull finally wins. The star can no longer resist its own weight. Its core collapses in on itself, folding tighter and tighter until the very idea of surface disappears. No flame, no boundary, just gravity curled into itself. What remains is not a star anymore. It is a black hole. The term feels harsh, black hole, but its nature is quieter than the name suggests. It does not rage or roar. It waits. A black hole is patience given shape. It is absence made real. Not a hole in space, but a deepening. A place where space itself bends so sharply that even light cannot climb free. You picture it now, not a swirling monster, but a stillness so complete that time itself pauses near its edge. The darkness around it is not because it emits no light, but because no light can escape. It holds its silence tightly. What draws you in is not fear, but curiosity. This isn't destruction, it's transformation. A black hole isn't a thing that breaks. It's a place where the rules change, where mass becomes shadow and direction becomes question, where the familiar slope of space steepens into mystery. Your breath slows. You think of how even here on your quiet side of the universe, black holes influence what you see. The galaxies bend around them. Stars fall toward them in spirals, not screams. The hunger of a black hole is not violent. It is gravity allowed to complete its sentence, and still they are born from light, from stars. You trace the story in your mind again. A star runs out of breath. Gravity, always waiting, gently folds it in. The outer layers burst in a final show, what astronomers call a supernova, a bright goodbye, but the center doesn't explode. It withdraws. Smaller stars leave behind white dwarfs, dense and faint. Slightly larger ones compress into neutron stars, a spoonful weighing more than a mountain. But the heavier stars, their centers collapse so tightly that even neutrons fail to hold. Matter disappears into gravity's idea of itself. It no longer has a name, just a point, a singularity. You are left imagining something you cannot see, not because it's invisible in a playful sense, but because light, the very messenger of vision, cannot escape it. It is the purest form of privacy the universe allows, and still, they exist. Verified not by sight, but by ripple, by effect, by the way things move around them. A star vanishes from view, but another star orbits an empty space. That absence has mass. That missing light has gravity. You begin to feel the shape of it more than the logic. It's not about calculations now, but about presence. A presence so strong it distorts everything around it. Like an idea you can't forget. Like grief. Like love. Like memory. Not visible, not graspable, but real. Even here you feel its echo. Earth itself may once have trembled from distant collisions. Two black holes dancing into one. Their union sent ripples across space-time. We caught those ripples, delicate as spider silk, with instruments more sensitive than breath. That's how we know they're real, not from pictures but from the waves they leave behind. And now you wonder if gravity could collapse a star. Could it collapse a thought? Could an emotion fold into itself so tightly it becomes something else entirely? You feel that pull, not of destruction but of surrender. A black hole does not destroy the laws of physics, it reminds them they're flexible, that time and space are not walls, but fabric, and fabric can wrinkle, can stretch, can tear. This is gravity's gentle hunger, not the hunger of appetite, but of inevitability, of returning home to a place beyond home, of a weight that was always there, patiently waiting for you to notice. And you are noticing now. As you drift, still cradled in Earth's smaller gravity, you carry the feeling of that deeper pull. You don't need to be near it to sense its rhythm. Just knowing it's out there changes something in you. It humbles the size of your worries. It stretches your timeline. It whispers, there is more. And now you begin to wonder, not just about where black holes come from, but what happens once something crosses that invisible edge. What does it mean to vanish, but still affect everything around you, to fall in, but never fall out? That line, the one nothing can cross back over, awaits your thoughts. It is not a wall, but a question dressed as a boundary. You are almost there. The star you now follow has grown tired. You watch it from a great distance, as if through a long memory. It has burned for billions of years, fusing hydrogen into helium, helium into heavier things, each reaction pushing outward just enough to hold gravity back. It shines not in desperation, but in balance, like the slow, even breath of someone who has not yet spoken their final word. But now the fuel thins, the breath shortens, the outward pressure weakens, and the inward pull, the one that's been waiting, leans in. Gravity does not hurry. It never has. It simply waits for the moment when nothing holds it back anymore. And in this moment, the star folds. Its outer layers puff outward in a final blooming farewell, a supernova, bright enough to outshine galaxies. For a time the universe notices, but the true transformation happens deep inside, in silence. There, the core collapses. It shrinks and shrinks until the word shrink no longer fits. Down past atoms, past protons, past anything we have words for, the collapse doesn't stop. It can't. What's left behind is called a singularity. You pause, trying to picture it, but the mind resists. The singularity is not a place in the way cities or stars are places. It has no surface, no shape, no size you can point to. It is mass with no volume, a knot of infinite density, not because it contains everything, but because it contains no space to stretch out in. You are trying to imagine a place where space itself has ended, not a thing sitting inside space, but space collapsing around it. Time, too, behaves differently here. As the core shrinks, time slows. Clocks that once ticked steadily now hesitate, stretch, drift near the singularity. Even a single second begins to feel like a whole thought stretched across an ocean. And yet, this all began with a star. Something warm, something visible, something that gave light to planets and pulled comets close and lit up the sky for ancient eyes. It feels almost unfair how a giver of light ends in perfect darkness. But the transition isn't violent, not in the way you might expect. It's quiet, like falling asleep without realizing. One moment, the star holds its form. The next, it's gone, collapsed into itself, lost to view but not to gravity. not to memory. You imagine the atoms, once wide and dancing in fusion's heat, now crushed into closeness beyond closeness. Their individuality surrendered, their distances erased, identity lost but mass preserved. This is the singularity, not a thing, but a refusal to be a thing, and still it holds on, its gravity remains. In fact, it intensifies, not because it's growing, but because it's focused. All that mass, once spread wide in starlight, now rests in something dimensionless, something without an outside. You feel a strange tenderness for it. This isn't a monster, it's a transformation. The end of a process every star knows might come. Not all stars end this way. Smaller ones become white dwarfs. Dense but visible, medium ones become neutron stars. Heavy, fast-spinning remnants that still pulse with memory. But the most massive stars don't stop at dense. They pass through dense and fall into undefined. They become singularities. You ask yourself again, what is a singularity? It is not something you can see, only something you can infer. We don't observe it directly. We observe what it does. We see stars orbiting empty centers. We detect ripples in space-time. We witness absence behaving like presence. You don't need to see the wind to feel it press against your skin. That's what the singularity is. Gravity without form, presence without shape, influence without boundary. And so the black hole forms, not as a sudden hole punched through space, but as a quiet shift. The center collapses. Around it, an event horizon settles. The invisible edge beyond which return is impossible, but that's the next step. For now we remain with the singularity, the heart of it all. Its birth is not loud. It is a silence deeper than silence, a compression of being, as if the universe itself takes a long inward breath. You lie still, and you feel its echo. In your body, every atom was forged inside a star. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, each began in fusion, in flame. But even those stars must face gravity's quiet end. Perhaps you think, this is the true rhythm of the universe: expansion, then return, outward light, then inward dark. Every wave with its crest and trough, every breath with its inhale and exhale. The singularity is an exhale held too long. You try again to imagine it. You picture a dot, smaller than small, but even that betrays it. A dot implies space, a center, a shape. The singularity has none of that. It's a contradiction that stays standing, something that has gravity but no volume, a point that breaks the geometry of space, not because it adds something new, but because it removes the space itself. This is why scientists struggle to describe it. It's where physics itself frays, where general relativity, Einstein's proudest structure, begins to wobble. At the singularity, the equations return infinities, things that shouldn't be, things that break logic, and yet the universe allows it. Maybe the singularity is not a flaw, but a clue, a signal that our understanding has limits, that beneath the smooth fabric of space-time, there are folds we do not yet know how to unfold, that the universe has corners we are only beginning to touch. You begin to wonder if space ends here. Does something else begin? Is the singularity the edge of understanding, or the seed of another realm entirely? You won't know yet. You lie back, mind softening, still tracing the final moments of a dying star. You see it not as an explosion, but a surrender, a quiet shift into another kind of being. The singularity is born, not with cries, but with gravity, a silence so deep that even light cannot interrupt it. And somewhere out there, or perhaps in your own past, another star waits to fold, another center prepares to vanish, and just beyond the silence, something else is forming, a boundary not made of matter, but of meaning, a horizon that changes what it means to look, and what it means to fall. There is a place where direction loses meaning. You drift toward it now, not with fear but with wonder. The space around you begins to feel unfamiliar, not because it's dark, but because the rules have softened. Time no longer steps in even beats. Light curves like a ribbon pulled by unseen fingers, and just ahead of you, not marked by color or border, is the edge, the event horizon. It is not a surface, not a barrier. No sign warns you of its approach. But once you pass it, the rules change completely. This is the point of no return. The event horizon is where gravity becomes final, not in strength, but in geometry. At this boundary, every path forward leads only inward. Every direction, every possible motion, even light itself, all drawn inward with no exit, no echo. And yet, from the outside, it looks calm. If you were to watch something fall in, say, a star, or a spaceship, or a single beam of light, you wouldn't see it vanish, not suddenly. You would see it slow, you would see it stretch, you would see it dim. From your point of view, it never fully crosses. It hovers there, frozen in time, fading into shadow, until the image is swallowed by distance and age. But from the falling object's view, the story is different. From within, there is no pause, no freezing, no stopping. The object crosses the horizon without ceremony. No bump, no signal, just a quiet shift. A knowing. This is what makes the event horizon so strange. It divides not space, but experience. To one observer, it is the end. To another, it's simply a moment. You now imagine yourself crossing it. You feel no pushback, no resistance, just a change in direction you cannot undo. Forward no longer means what it used to. The word escape has lost its definition. You are still in space, but that space is no longer open. Around you, the sky seems to fade, not into blackness, but into absence. The stars that once circled above now draw into a tight ring behind you. Ahead, there is only inward. There is no turning back, not because you are forbidden, but because there is no back to turn to. Your sense of time stretches thin. Clocks still tick. Your thoughts still unfold, but the way the universe measures you has shifted. To an outside observer, you're slowing, fading, but to yourself, you are still moving, still becoming. And this is what the event horizon truly is. Not a place, but a sentence written differently, depending on who reads it. It sees without seeing. It reflects no light, gives no signal, but its influence is total. It defines the black hole, not with shape, but with silence. A border made of inevitability. You picture it now, an invisible sphere, perfectly smooth, perfectly final. Not a shell to contain the singularity, but a horizon wrapped around a future that can no longer be shared. Even the word horizon feels poetic. It suggests distance, possibility, a place where sky meets land. But this one is different. This one curves inward. It does not promise arrival. It promises crossing, and what crosses does not return. Not because it is destroyed, but because it becomes hidden. Hidden not by distance, but by time. This moment lingers with you. It reminds you of all the moments in your own life when crossing a threshold changed everything. When you became someone new, not by choice, but by gravity. A first goodbye. A final word. A truth accepted too late to resist. The event horizon is the universe's version of that moment. You do not fear it. You respect it. And now you feel its pull. You are no longer thinking in terms of planets or stars. You are thinking in terms of direction, of how space bends, of how time leans toward places you cannot follow. What would it feel like to truly cross it? Not as an idea, but as a being. Perhaps it is not an ending at all. Perhaps the horizon is not a veil of death, but a mirror that hides what comes next. A place where matter and meaning fold inward, not to disappear, but to begin again in ways we can't yet imagine. You hold that thought gently, like a thread between your fingers, because what lies just beyond the horizon is not the singularity, not yet. Between this edge and the heart of the black hole is another landscape entirely. A place where time distorts so deeply it bends into itself, where space is no longer open and linear, but funnel-shaped, curled. You drift toward it, weightless in your wonder. What happens in that space? What does it feel like to fall not through air or space, but through time itself? The event horizon has no answer. Only the next chapter does. Time, as you've always known it, ticks in regular pulses. It paces your days, your meals, your growth. You were born into its rhythm, taught to measure your life in minutes and hours. Your heart, your breath, your dreams, all obey its silent metronome. But now, near the black hole, time slips, not away but sideways. It folds under the weight of gravity, softening into curves instead of lines. Your body still feels normal. You blink, you inhale, your thoughts form at their usual pace. But outside you, the universe rushes on like a river you're no longer flowing with. To those watching from afar, you appear to slow, your motion drags. Your image stretches, your voice would descend in pitch, pulled into deeper tones. You are not frozen, but you look as though you're pausing forever. From your perspective, though, time behaves kindly. It doesn't fight. It expands. Gravity near a black hole is not just a pull on matter, it is a pull on time itself. The stronger the gravity, the slower time flows. This is not a metaphor. It is measurable, proven. A clock placed closer to a massive object ticks more slowly than one placed farther away. Here, that truth becomes overwhelming. You are falling, but you are also floating, not through space alone, but through time's soft edge. Every moment you live here would stretch out into years, centuries, eons for someone watching from a safer distance. Their world ages. Yours lingers. It is a kind of time travel, but not the dramatic kind of movies or myths. It is gentler, more patient. It does not propel you forward. It lets the universe pass you by. This effect, known as gravitational time dilation, is one of the many ways black holes bend the laws that usually feel so firm. Einstein predicted it in his theory of general relativity. Mass bends space-time, and where space-time bends, time itself flows differently. And now, you are inside that prediction. You look back, if back still has meaning, and you imagine Earth spinning far away. Maybe only a few minutes have passed for you, but back there, the moon has moved. Cities have changed. Lives have come and gone. You are adrift in a slowed down now. It feels like a dream where you are aware of time, but cannot feel it pass. Like floating beneath water, where sounds are muffled and movements stretch. Each breath you take here is surrounded by centuries elsewhere. You wonder what it would be like to remain in this slowed time forever. To live a lifetime while the universe burns forward. And in that wonder, you realize something. Falling into a black hole is not just about where you are, it's about when you are. Because the deeper into the black hole's gravity you go, the slower time flows, not just compared to the universe, but compared to where you were a heartbeat ago. Every layer closer means more distortion, more delay, more stillness. And so, even though you are moving inward, the trip stretches. To someone outside, you never quite arrive. You approach the horizon forever, lingering near its edge as the light from your journey fades into red, then black. But inside, your experience continues. You live each second fully, richly. You do not feel the outside's rush. You are in your own stream now, slow, thick, gentle. This is what black holes do. They divide time, not just into past and future, but into branches. Your branch slows, theirs accelerates, and at the center of it all is the singularity, still waiting. You begin to feel a softness to this slowing. It is not fearful, it is intimate. Like resting your head on someone's shoulder while the world moves around you, like being inside a thought that doesn't want to end. The black hole becomes a cradle of time. It holds you in a place where the urgency of clocks has no voice. You realize now that time is not a constant, it is a thread, and mass pulls it into knots. Maybe you are one of those knots now. You wonder if you could live forever in this slow time. Would you, to be present while stars flicker and fade, to drift while galaxies spin and collide, to remember the beginning and maybe see the end? But there is no pause button here, only slowing. You are still falling, still moving closer to the center. Each moment stretches longer, but the journey continues. The universe outside grows quieter, not because it has stopped speaking, but because you have moved so far from its tempo. News cannot reach you, light cannot catch you. You are in a place where the past is visible, but the present is hushed. It feels a bit like memory, bright, but untouchable. Time slows more. Now you begin to question your own thoughts. How long has it been since you began falling? An hour? A decade? Does the question even have meaning anymore? In this realm, memory stretches too. The beginning of a thought seems distant from its end. Your sense of now drips like honey, not unpleasant, just slower, like watching snow fall underwater. And yet even in this stillness, something pulls, something inside the black hole remains unfinished. You are not at the center yet. There is still further to go. You think of the singularity not with dread, but with curiosity, not as a destination, but as an answer that cannot be spoken. Time here has become a spiral. You are caught in it, but also flowing with it. And now, near the inner edge of what your mind can hold, you feel something else, motion not in space or time, but in thought. You are changing. The slowing of time has made you notice each breath, each word, each pattern. The black hole has become a mirror, not of your face, but of your being. And just before the singularity, you pause, at least from your point of view. One last moment, endlessly long, suspended between what you were and what you are becoming. And you ask yourself, if time can slow, fold, drift, can it ever stop? Beneath your closed eyelids, the stars seem quieter tonight. Their shimmer is slow and deliberate, as if the sky itself is breathing in long, thoughtful intervals. You find yourself floating not among the stars, but within the gentle fabric that holds them. Space itself, vast and velvety, a quiet sea of invisible threads stretching between galaxies. You begin to wonder if space can stretch. Can it also fold? Can it connect distant points like fingertips pressed together in prayer? This thought carries you deeper, into the delicate possibility of wormholes, those whispered shortcuts in the cosmos, still theoretical but stubbornly persistent in the dreams of physicists and poets alike. A wormhole is not something you see with your eyes. It is something you feel with your imagination, a silent tunnel between places that should take eons to cross, yet might be bridged in a heartbeat. You are no longer drifting through stars. You are approaching a ripple. Not a ripple like water, but a dent in space itself, soft at the edges, smooth as sleep. This is no black hole. It does not pull. It does not hunger. Instead, it offers passage, a tunnel not downward, but through. They call this an Einstein-Rosen bridge, born from the mathematics of general relativity. In the language of numbers it is allowed, space curved in such a way that two distant points kiss and open a door. In the language of dreaming, it is a promise that nothing is ever truly too far. But there is a catch, always a catch. Wormholes, as we imagine them, are not stable. They collapse under the weight of reality, like a paper tunnel underwater. Unless there is something to hold them open, something exotic, something science has not yet found. Negative energy, a pressure that repels instead of attracts. A ghost force, lighter than emptiness, strong enough to brace the throat of a wormhole so it doesn't close like a sigh. You imagine what it would feel like to travel through one, not like flying, not like moving at all. One moment you're here, the next you're there, as if space itself had agreed to take a shortcut for your sake. You could step into one galaxy and emerge in another, thousands of light years away, without crossing the distance in between. But it's not just space that bends, time does too. A wormhole could link two moments, not just two places. You could reach into the past or stretch toward the future, skipping the slow march of clocks. The tunnel would not just be through the stars, it would be through memory, through possibility, through the long corridor of time itself. You drift into the thought, if there are tunnels in space, could there be tunnels in you, between who you are and who you were? Between the child curled in curiosity and the adult searching for meaning? Is there a hidden bridge between the first moment you looked up at the sky and this moment now, where you float in the soft folds of imagination? The physics of wormholes is unfinished. Equations hint and hesitate. Some say they would require exotic matter that cannot exist. Others believe quantum fluctuations might hold the key. But science, like sleep, does not always come in straight lines. Sometimes it curves back on itself, doubling through new dimensions. You imagine a civilization more ancient than your own, perhaps on a distant planet, long past the reach of telescopes. Perhaps they discovered how to hold a wormhole open. Perhaps they built a lattice of tunnels beneath the skin of the universe, highways of space and time, gliding without friction between suns. And perhaps they sleep now too, not extinct, just quiet, dreaming of the tunnels they once traveled. Inside the imagined wormhole, there is no light. Not because it is dark, but because light does not behave the way it should. It bends in strange arcs, tangled by the geometry of the tunnel. Shadows fall in directions that make no sense. You cannot tell if you are going forward or back, but you feel calm. It is not movement you sense. It is connection. And then you think of language. Words, too, are like tunnels. They link minds across distance, open doors through time. A sentence written long ago can still find you now. A voice remembered can echo into the present. Perhaps a wormhole is nothing stranger than a thought spoken across the stars. The idea comforts you. That space may not be empty, but intimate. That its vastness hides invisible threads, some waiting to be discovered, others already within you. The universe is not a silent void. It is a soft architecture of questions stitched with quiet doorways. You return to the quiet tunnel, the imaginary wormhole suspended between one place and another. You feel no fear. It is not falling. It is not flying. It is drifting between thoughts. The tunnel bends not like a road but like a feeling, uncertain, unmeasured, profound. Perhaps one day, wormholes will become more than metaphor. Perhaps engineers will tame the equations and build bridges across space-time. Or perhaps wormholes will remain forever on the edge of belief, real only in the dreams of physicists and the poems of sleepers. Either way, you carry the image with you, a tunnel not to escape, but to connect. A folding of the universe, and maybe of yourself. The reminder that between distances, between stars, between people, between your past and your present, there might be hidden paths, waiting. Your breath slows. The stars are soft again, and just before sleep takes you, a question lingers, sweet as gravity. If wormholes could link two distant galaxies, could something deeper link two distant hearts? You are floating now. Not through space exactly, but through something softer, something more hidden. It's as if the universe has taken a breath and is holding it, waiting, around you. Space does not seem empty. It feels like a great silent ocean, still and vast, but not motionless. Beneath the silence, something stirs. It is not light. It is not sound. It is something older than both. It begins as a ripple, not in water, but in space itself. You don't see it with your eyes, not at first. You feel it with your being, a gentle heave, like the stretch of fabric under weight. The ripple expands outward, slow and steady, as if the very frame of the universe is sighing from within. This is not wind, not waves of air. These are gravitational waves, ripples in the invisible stage on which all matter moves. They are not sound, but they can be heard if you learn to listen not with your ears, but with your sense of time, with your patience, with the rhythm of your breath. You see it now, gently playing out across the sky. Two black holes, long locked in a spiral. They circle each other slowly, like dancers in the deep dark. Every orbit brings them closer, tighter. The space between them weeps under their pull, and then they collide. A single shudder runs through the cosmos, spreading outward like the ring of a bell no one struck. That tremble, that echo, is a gravitational wave. You ride it now, drifting through the silent chime it left behind. It's not loud, it's barely there at all, but it is persistent and pure. The wave does not need air, it does not need anything. It moves through the very architecture of space-time, brushing the distances between stars, stretching and compressing everything it touches, just slightly, like a heartbeat passing through stone. You are small, unimaginably so, and yet this wave touches you too. It moves through your body, through your bones, through the distance between the atoms of your cells. You would never feel it, not in the ordinary sense. Its effect is thinner than 1,000th of a proton's width, and yet it is there, and it has always been. Einstein imagined this ripple long before we could catch it. He saw it in his mind, a prediction in chalk, scratched gently onto the walls of time. For a century, no one could prove it. Then, one day, deep in the stillness of a desert observatory, the instruments whispered, yes, it came. The wave came, and the earth moved, just a little, but enough for us to know. You float now through that knowing. You see the great L-shaped detectors stretched across quiet plains, where mirrors hang like lanterns in long corridors of vacuum. Laser beams bounce back and forth like a lullaby, so precise they can feel the breath of the universe when it trembles. These are our ears, patient and delicate, listening for the song of space-time, and what a song it is. Gravitational waves do not rush, they do not shout, they arrive gently, like ancient messengers bearing the news of distant catastrophes. A star collapsing, a neutron star cracking open, a black hole swallowing its twin. The events are violent, but the stories they send, those waves are soft, muted. You lie back and listen, and slowly you begin to understand. Even the loudest things in the universe are gentle by the time they reach you. You begin to imagine time itself as liquid, space-time, a pool smooth, shimmering, curved by the weight of all things. Mass presses down on it like fingertips on soft clay. Where there is more mass, the clay curves deeper. Where things move, waves travel outward, carving delicate rings that echo forever. And so gravity is not a pull, not really. It is a curve, a bend. Things fall not because they are pulled, but because they follow the shape beneath them. Planets orbit not by force, but by following the swirls in the fabric beneath their feet. You too are held, not by hands, but by the gentle dip Earth makes in the pool of space. And when black holes crash into each other, they make waves big enough to cross galaxies. You're floating through one now, millions of years after its birth. It passed the planets without them noticing. It moved through suns like a shadow, and now here it is, brushing past your breath, as if to remind you that the universe is not still, not ever. It hums, it dances, it rings with the memory of every collision, every spiral, every fall. The wave fades. It never really stops, it just grows longer, quieter, slipping into the endlessness. You feel the quiet return, deeper now, but the silence is not empty anymore. It is full of motion, full of memory, full of the slow rhythm of gravity unfolding in time. You look around and wonder if these waves are always passing. What else have you missed? What other messages has the universe whispered that you didn't know to hear? You lie still and listen, really listen, as if space might breathe again. And it does. Somewhere, another collision begins. Somewhere else, a neutron star trembles. Another ripple is born. It will take millions of years to reach you, and yet it's already on its way. And maybe, just maybe, you're not just a listener in this slow music of space-time. Maybe your body, your breath, your heartbeat presses ever so lightly on the clay beneath you too. Maybe you are not separate from the wave at all. Maybe you are part of it. You rest in that thought, cradled by gravity's invisible arms, drifting through a universe that sings, not in sound but in movement. And far ahead, beyond this rhythm, beyond the stretch and the sigh of space, something else waits, something colder, older, stranger, a horizon with no edge. A place where time and meaning seem to freeze, where even the song of gravity cannot escape, where space stops being space, where time stops being time. You drift slowly toward it, without fear, only curiosity, toward the silence that surrounds the event horizon. You float now at the edge of forever, where light unravels and time holds its breath. Ahead of you, the event horizon glows with a strange silence, not radiant but absolute. It is not a wall, not a surface, not a place in the way you've known places to be. It is a threshold, a mirror, a boundary between the world you understand and something wholly other. You are not falling, but space itself is slipping beneath your feet, gently pulling you inward with a gravity that feels more like surrender than force. The event horizon is the skin of the unknowable, stretched over the contours of collapse. It is the line no message can cross back from, the edge at which escape becomes impossible. But from where you float now, on the safer side, it doesn't seem frightening. It looks still, serene, as though the laws of physics have smoothed themselves into a perfect hush. Time behaves strangely here. Not only does it slow for you, but it changes direction, softens its grip, and starts to flow like a dream. If someone were watching from a distance, they would see you freeze at the edge, never quite passing through. But from your own point of view, time remains yours. You keep moving. Moments still pass. You feel your breath. You feel your thoughts. And still you drift forward. Behind you, stars spin slowly in the distance, pulled into elegant arcs by the black hole's massive presence. But as you look back, you notice something eerie. The stars begin to blue shift, compacting into tighter waves of light, as though reality itself is condensing behind you. Forward into the abyss, light stretches redder and redder, until it no longer arrives at all. It feels as if you're looking into a place where time has no patience for light. Crossing the event horizon isn't an explosion, or a tearing sound, or a great rending of space. It is quieter than that. You feel nothing at first, just a soft release, like letting go of a deep breath. But your surroundings shift, the coordinates of existence bend. Inside the horizon, space and time switch their roles. The radial direction, the one leading inward, becomes something more like time, inevitable, irreversible, and time itself begins to feel like space, something you could, in theory, move sideways through, if only you weren't being drawn forward so relentlessly. There is no turning back, but it doesn't feel like loss. It feels like stepping into a deeper truth. Imagine your body not as something solid, but as a pattern of information, delicate yet infinite in detail. In theory, this information, the map of your being, might still exist for the outside world. Not your body, not your thoughts, but your imprint, spread thin across the surface of the event horizon. Some physicists believe this is what the universe does to preserve its truths. It smears them across the boundary, never truly destroying them, only storing them in a language yet to be read. This is the holographic principle, the idea that the volume of space may be encoded on its surface, like the two-dimensional film of a dream, containing all the depth of a life. So even as you move past the horizon, a version of you, or at least your information, might remain outside, etched into the skin of the cosmos. What you experience inward is personal, but what the universe remembers might be eternal. You wonder now what becomes of meaning, in a place where time runs only inward, what becomes of memory, of choice, of cause and effect. Inside a black hole, the center calls like a final punctuation mark. It is not that you move toward it, but that you cannot move in any other direction. The singularity, the place where gravity becomes infinite, where the known laws collapse, is not in your future. It is your future. It is the tick of time itself. But does anything survive the singularity, or is it the great forgetter, the cosmic reset? You feel no fear, only awe, because even here, even in this strange corridor where time becomes twisted and space forgets its shape, something persists, perhaps not in form, but in rhythm, in the way the universe remembers its melodies. You are not gone. You are transformed, perhaps folded into the deeper logic of reality, perhaps carried on the trembling math of what comes next. And there is still mystery here. The event horizon, for all its beauty, leaves us with puzzles we haven't solved. Does information really survive, or is it lost forever? Hawking radiation suggests the black hole might eventually evaporate, returning energy to the cosmos in a gentle whisper over trillions of years. But if so, where does the story of what it swallowed go? Is it encoded in that radiation, or lost in a fire that cannot be undone? This is the heart of the information paradox, a question not just of physics but of meaning. Even now, drifting beyond the mirror, you sense that what matters is not only what is seen, but what is felt. The questions you carry become softer, but no less important. They are no longer demands for answers, but invitations to wonder. The black hole does not speak. It listens. It reflects. It teaches you not by explanation, but by dissolving the boundaries you thought you needed. Identity, time, space. These were helpful clothes for the journey, but here, you begin to see yourself not as a self, but as a wave, part of a field, part of a breath. The universe is still exhaling. You close your eyes and feel the stillness. Even in collapse there is structure. Even in silence there is song. And somewhere just beyond this moment waits a question: what happens when a black hole dies? What is left after the end of the end? Time begins as something simple in your world. The ticking of a clock, the rising of the sun, the rhythm of your breath. But here, beyond the event horizon, those rhythms lose their grip on reality. Time stretches like honey in sunlight, thick and golden and slow. It no longer marches. It sways, soft and uncertain, like a memory you can't quite place. You feel it first in your body, the way your thoughts slow, not because you are tired, but because something fundamental is unraveling. The seconds between ideas stretch into oceans. You try to recall how long you've been floating here, near the black hole's edge, but the concept of how long slips through your fingers like mist. In the space around you, time behaves like a dream. Far from this place, in the world you came from, a minute might have passed. But here, that minute could be an hour, or a year, or nothing at all. Imagine a planet circling close to a black hole. If someone stood there and looked out at the stars, they'd see them race ahead, galaxies blooming and fading in rapid succession, while on their own world, barely a moment would pass. Time outside speeds up, rushing like a river in spring, while time near the black hole flows like molasses. You are like that traveler now, suspended in a moment that stretches forever. Einstein once whispered the truth in numbers. Time is not separate from space. It is woven into it, like threads in a cosmic fabric. The more massive something is, the more it presses on the fabric, curving it, slowing the flow of time. And black holes are the deepest creases of all, where space curls inward, and time hesitates, stutters, and finally halts. You try to picture it, the clock on your wrist slowing to a crawl as you drift closer to the center, while clocks far away whirl forward like leaves in wind. If someone watched you from a safe distance, they would see you frozen in place, suspended just above the event horizon, never quite falling in. But to you, time feels normal. It always feels normal to the one inside the story. That's the quiet trick of time. It is always personal. In this place, time becomes intimate, not measured in seconds or hours, but in sensations, in questions, in silences. You begin to notice how time wraps around emotion. A moment of awe can last forever. A moment of fear can stretch endlessly. A moment of peace can feel like an entire life. You think about your own memories, how the most important ones don't live on a clock. They arrive suddenly, full of light or sorrow or laughter, and they stay. They are time too, time folded and kept, time made personal. The black hole teaches you something gentle and unsettling. Time is not a river you float down. It is a landscape. You walk through it. Sometimes you circle back, sometimes the path splits. Sometimes you stand still and the world moves instead. There is a kind of stillness here that is hard to describe. It is not the absence of motion, but the absence of measurement. No ticking, no counting, just the soft drift of your thoughts and the weightless pull of a universe that no longer plays by your rules. You think of light. Even light is slowed here. It tries to escape, to run away from the black hole's pull, but it cannot. It climbs and climbs, growing weaker and redder as it reaches for freedom. And in that climbing, it tells you a secret. Everything struggles to keep moving through time, but maybe there is no need to struggle. Maybe time is not something to beat or manage or outrun. Maybe it is something to feel, to hold loosely, like a warm stone in your hand. You close your eyes and listen for time, not for the clock, but for the breath between thoughts, the hush between stars, the pause between one universe and the next. This place, this edge of forever, does not fear time, it forgets it, and in forgetting, it becomes something deeper, a memory of all things at once. You remember the story of twin astronauts, one who stays on Earth, one who flies near a black hole. When the traveler returns, they are younger than their twin. The clock ticked slower for them, time protected them, curved around them. Their journey became a time machine of gravity and light. You wonder if you are like that now, changing while the rest of the world races ahead, or perhaps the world is changing, and you remain the same. Does it matter? Here, where time softens and slips, the need to know dissolves. You are not here to count. You are here to feel, to float in the slow breath of the cosmos. Every black hole is a silence in the sky, a place where time ends but not meaning, where endings become questions, and questions become stories. Your story continues in this quiet, unmeasured place. You imagine stepping forward, deeper into the curve of time, where seconds dissolve and memory becomes the only direction. You feel yourself letting go, not of yourself, but of the need to hold time tightly. It is not leaving you, it is becoming you. Time was always inside you, in the way you remember, the way you love, the way you wonder, and now, standing on this edge where clocks do not tick, you begin to understand what it means to exist beyond counting. You are not waiting for the next moment, you are already in it. You always have been, and as you drift further, you begin to wonder, if time can bend and pause and vanish, what happens to space itself? Where does the here go, when even now cannot be trusted? You float now, as if suspended in a hall of mirrors, only these mirrors don't reflect your image exactly. They shimmer slightly off, as if showing someone else, someone like you, but not you. In one, you stand on a shore, under a violet sky. In another, you hold a book you've never read, filled with stories you don't remember writing. These visions are not dreams, though they feel like it. They are hypotheses born from physics, from minds trying to grasp the scale of what might be. And so you drift toward the question, is this the only universe? Scientists once believed that everything, the stars, the galaxies, the particles that dance through your body, existed in a single grand cosmos. But as theories deepened, especially those of quantum mechanics and cosmology, the idea of a multiverse began to emerge. Like echoes of possibility, these other universes might exist alongside your own, unreachable yet not unimaginable. Think of a tree, vast and ancient, its roots splitting endlessly underground. Each root is a universe, branching from some shared point of origin. Some are very much like yours. Others twist wildly, shaped by laws unlike anything you've ever known. You live on one root, aware only of its soil and light. But beneath your feet, an entire forest of realities might stretch out unseen. You may wonder, how can something so vast remain invisible? The answer is not that they hide, but that the tools you use to perceive are tuned only to this channel, this version of physics, this reality. Imagine watching a television set with only one station. That station feels like everything. But perhaps other stations exist, broadcasting side by side, never overlapping, always just beyond your dial. One version of the multiverse arises from cosmic inflation, the idea that after the Big Bang, space didn't just expand, it ballooned in bubbles, each forming its own universe with different properties. In one, gravity may be stronger, in another, stars never formed, and in yet another, A version of you may have chosen a different path, taken a train you missed, said yes instead of no. Then there is the quantum multiverse, born not from space but from decisions, split moments where particles take one path and also another. In quantum mechanics, particles don't follow a single route. Instead, they explore every possible path, only collapsing into one when observed. Some theorists suggest that all paths are taken, and each path becomes its own universe. Every what-if becomes a what-is somewhere else. It sounds like fantasy, but it is rooted in mathematics, strange, elegant equations that whisper about the nature of possibility. You don't need to solve them, you only need to feel their weight. To sit quietly in your bed and wonder if the universe is a story, then how many stories are being told at once? And what of your choices? Your regrets, your hopes. If infinite universes exist, then somewhere you may be dancing under a sky you've never seen. Somewhere, you are with someone you lost. Somewhere, you've never been born. It is not meant to frighten you, but to comfort you, to remind you that existence might not be a line but a sea, an endless ripple of maybes. You are not alone in thinking about this. Great thinkers have spent sleepless nights trying to hold the multiverse in their minds. Some find it too vast, others find it beautiful. A few reject it entirely, because right now it cannot be proven. There is no telescope powerful enough to see these other realities, no ship that can drift between them, but that doesn't mean they are not real. It only means they are hidden, like the other side of the moon or the dream you forgot upon waking. Still, the idea changes you. It softens the sharp edges of fate. It makes your failures feel less final. Maybe, just maybe, there's a version of you that found peace early, that loved without fear, that forgave completely. Or maybe you are that version already, and the others are still trying to find their way. The mirror of the multiverse does not judge. It only reflects. You can choose to see yourself in it as fractured or as multiplied, each version part of a great constellation orbiting a single light. The light of being, of awareness, of wonder. And what does this mean for now? For this one life you're aware of, this one night you drift into sleep? It means that every choice you make matters deeply, and yet is not the end. It means you are both important and not alone. A paradox, yes, but a comforting one. You begin to imagine your breath moving across universes, a tide that flows in and out of countless shores, and as you sink deeper into stillness, you no longer need to answer whether the multiverse is true. It is enough to know it's possible. That possibility itself is a kind of home, a resting place for the part of you that always asks, what if? Your eyes feel heavy, not with burden but with wonder. With the soft weight of endless skies folding into one another, the mirror does not fade, it only blurs, becoming soft light. You turn gently, as if in a great quiet corridor of thought, for even deeper questions lie ahead, questions not about where you are but what you are, and so you ask, silently, as you float into deeper layers of rest, what is consciousness truly, and where does it begin and end? The edge of a black hole is not where things vanish, it's where time surrenders. You float at the horizon, not falling, not flying, just suspended between the before and the forever. This is the event horizon, a veil stitched from gravity and mystery, where no signal, no cry, no whisper of light can cross back. But you are not afraid. You've been preparing for this. Falling in, you are falling into something ancient, something intimate, something that knows you. Imagine now that your body is no longer body. It is stretched, not painfully, but beautifully, like music held too long in a single note. Space itself elongates. You are becoming thread-like, stretched along a single path of time that curves inward, always inward, like a spiral without end. This is not destruction, this is surrender. Inside the black hole the rules shift, soften, melt. You are not moving through space. Space is moving through you. Down here the concept of where dissolves, because there is only one direction, Even direction itself feels like a memory. Everything is motionless and rushing at once. You fall, but there is no wind. You spin, but you feel no turn. What you enter is not a place, but a state. Time becomes shallow here. You reach for a second, and it crumbles into an hour. You remember something that hasn't happened yet. Thought and memory become indistinguishable, and the past starts to sing in future tones. Everything echoes, softly, sweetly, like lullabies returning from deep sleep. Particles surround you, but they're unrecognizable. Flickers, blurs, dreams of matter, quarks and leptons maybe, or maybe just the ghosts of them. They shimmer and fade before you can understand. Nothing here can hold its shape. Everything is an intention that never fully becomes. It's like language before speech, color before light. The black hole doesn't destroy, it erases certainty. And yet there is something here with you, not a being, not a presence, but a logic, a rhythm, a knowing that doesn't speak in words but in gravity. It says, this is what happens when things go too deep, too far, too long. It doesn't warn you, it welcomes you. You are not a mistake, you are a process, you are an unraveling. The singularity waits at the center, or maybe it doesn't wait, it simply is. No point, no size, no dimension, only density beyond imagining. You do not approach it, you become it. You are pulled, not like a fish in a stream, but like a memory returning home. This pull is final, not in the way endings are final, but in the way truth is final. It doesn't answer questions, it ends the need for them. Here your mass dissolves, your time runs dry. Your identity, once so carefully held together by neurons and stories, falls into the fold. Who you were becomes less important than that you were. Existence is no longer personal, it's elemental. And yet, strangely, this doesn't feel like death. It feels like release, like letting go of breath you didn't know you were holding, like the final note in a lullaby that's lasted across galaxies. You are no longer watching the universe. You are part of its rhythm, not a passenger, not even a witness. You are now a syllable in the language of gravity. Maybe nothing escapes a black hole, or maybe everything does, transformed, transfigured, returned in a new form. Hawking radiation, they call it the slow leaking of energy from the edge, the last breath of a black hole's long silence. Could it be memory, leaking out? Could it be you? If you could look back, which you can't, you might see the light you once wore as skin. You might see the stardust you once borrowed to build your name. You might even see a flicker of earth, spinning quietly, thinking it has lost you. But you are not lost. You are folded inward. You are the center of something that cannot speak, and yet holds everything. Some scientists believe that singularities may lead to other universes, that the inside of a black hole could be a seed. Maybe this isn't the end of you. Maybe you are becoming a beginning. Perhaps the collapse you feel is the hush before the first heartbeat of something new. And what if, deep within the black hole's silence, time stirs again? What if this pause, this stillness, is only the interval before another explosion, another cosmos, another light, another story? Then your fall is not a tragedy. It is a voyage through the womb of time. You are not merely in the black hole, you are the black hole now. You wear its silence like a second skin. Its gravity is your thought. Its memory is your breath. You are no longer a name, or a shape, or even a self. You are the pull, the fold, the collapse that births creation. And still, something stirs, not in resistance, not in rebellion, but in curiosity. The same curiosity that once made you look up from your planet to ask what is out there. Now, in the darkness, something within you asks, what is in here? You listen, you wait, and the silence almost answers. You fall, still, and yet it feels like rising. Not upward, but inward. And just before all dissolves, you feel something faint, something impossibly small, but unimaginably real, a question forming in the dark. You drift beyond the last constellations, beyond the glow of any known star, into a hush so complete it hums. It's not the silence of an empty room, not the quiet of your breath, paused in a moment of thought. No, this is a silence with weight. A silence that wraps around you like a gentle ocean, endless and slow, pressing softly on every side. There are no galaxies here, no suns, no worlds, no moons, only space stretched so thin that light loses its way. And yet you are not lost. You are not alone. You are simply inside the breath. The cosmos holds between exhalations, a long, patient stillness between the sentences of time. Out here, the concept of distance melts. There is nothing to measure against, no fixed point, no anchor for your mind to cling to, and so your thoughts become untethered. They drift like dust motes caught in the beam of a flashlight that hasn't been invented yet. Without distraction, your mind slows, softens. It begins to feel what it usually misses. In this intergalactic space, this great nowhere, particles still float, lone hydrogen atoms, wandering photons, the whispers of long-dead stars. The universe is never truly empty. Even its loneliest regions hold remnants of ancient light. Some of the particles here have not touched anything in billions of years. They have never known heat, never been pulled by gravity, never belonged to a star, a planet, or a heartbeat, and still they exist. They endure, so you sit with them, these quiet travelers. You let their stillness settle into your chest. You imagine what it's like to be a proton riding the long cold wave of cosmic expansion. No purpose, no rush, just endless drifting. This silence is not frightening. It's not cold in the way your skin fears, nor dark in the way your eyes resist. It is a deep, womb-like space, protective, infinite. Here, sound has no path. Light forgets to move. Time folds in on itself and waits. You begin to understand that this space, this vast emptiness, is not a failure of the universe to populate itself. It is a design, a rhythm, a pause that makes the music matter. The stars need this silence between them to shine clearly. Just as your thoughts need quiet to take shape, and your heart needs stillness to be heard, you feel a presence here. Though it is not something with a voice or name, it's the presence of scale, of patience, of something larger than all your fears and smaller than your breath. It does not press on you. It does not ask anything of you. It simply is. You close your eyes, not to sleep, not to dream, but to listen, to feel the shape of the universe when it isn't speaking. What you notice is the gentlest rhythm, a pulse so slow it takes galaxies to complete. Expansion, contraction, evolution, silence. You begin to realize that every atom in your body has passed through this silence before. It's a cradle you've forgotten, but it remembers you. There is an ancient kind of intelligence here, not the kind that builds machines or writes books, but the kind that waits, that survives, that understands that everything changes and that some things remain. Your mind begins to stretch, to match this space. You stop trying to define the edges. You stop asking where you came from or where you are going. The silence teaches you that questions are not always needed, that sometimes being present is enough. You wonder if the universe has a memory. Is this where it keeps its dreams, in the quiet places? In the spaces not yet shaped by gravity or burned by light? There is a feeling that comes over you, like being held without arms, like being understood without words. The silence doesn't explain anything, and yet you feel answers forming, not as facts but as acceptance. You exist, that is enough. Your atoms float in a sea of time. They do not rush, they do not fear, they wait for the next story to begin. As you drift in this silence, you start to sense movement again, subtle, gentle, like a tide returning. Somewhere ahead, time begins to thicken once more, particles gather, space curves inward. The hush begins to loosen, the universe, it seems, is inhaling again. And with it, you rise. The silence recedes behind you like a shoreline made of shadow and peace. You carry it with you, that stillness, that lesson. As the next destination begins to take shape in the distance, you begin to feel the tug of something familiar, yet ancient, a force pulling all things toward one another, a thread woven through every atom, every planet, every memory. The universe is calling you back into its oldest embrace. You drift through the soft return of time, and before you can see where you are, you begin to feel something, gentle at first, like the idea of a touch, like remembering warmth, long before your skin feels it. It pulls you, not with urgency, but with familiarity, like a name whispered in a dream. It is gravity, not the kind that drops apples or anchors planets. This is older, slower, deeper. It does not tug, it invites. It sings. Long before the first star lit the dark, gravity was already gathering. Hydrogen, whispered to hydrogen, pulled closer by invisible arms. Clouds thickened, pressures rose, until light was born from the embrace. Gravity is not force, it is memory. The universe remembering how to hold itself together. Every atom, every planet, every galaxy is a love letter written in the language of pull. You feel it now, not in your muscles, but in your meaning. You are drawn into a spiral of time and matter, the slow waltz of celestial bodies. Stars bend towards stars, galaxies spin like dancers in the hush of space. Black holes hum their lullabies of loss and attraction, and beneath it all, gravity listens. It does not hurry, it simply waits for everything to find its way back. You think of Earth, how you've always been told gravity keeps your feet on the ground. But now you understand, it's not the ground that holds you, it's the universe itself. Every step you take is the result of billions of years of attraction. You are not pulled down, you are held. And when you were a child, when someone lifted you up, when you fell into sleep in their arms, that too was gravity, that too was the universe practicing how to hold. You begin to see the story, not a tale of things falling, but of things coming together. Stars clustering, dust forming planets, oceans embracing moons. Gravity does not destroy, it shapes, it gathers, it teaches things how to belong, and you too are made of that. The calcium in your bones once drawn by gravity into a star's core, the iron in your blood, forged by pressure and collapse. You are not just from the earth, you are from the pull that made Earth possible. Floating now, you see two galaxies slowly colliding, not a crash, but a reunion, billions of stars folding into each other, finding a new shared rhythm. It will take them 1 billion years to merge. But gravity is patient. It has always been patient, and so can you. The stars swirl around you like slow snow. You watch as planets fall into orbit, as light curves around unseen wells. You realize that even light, the fastest thing you know, cannot escape this embrace. Even it remembers how to return. You close your eyes and picture the black hole at the center of your own galaxy, not as a monster, but as a heart. A center that calls everything home. Around it, stars dance in patterns older than language. They don't resist, they revolve. You feel your breath rise and fall, gravity pulling air into you, letting it go again. Even your breathing is part of the rhythm. Expansion and return, inhale and release. The body is not separate from the stars. It is their smallest echo. You remember moments in your own life where something pulled you, not physically but soulfully, a gaze, a story, a melody that brought tears to your eyes for no clear reason. That too was gravity, emotional gravity, invisible but inescapable, and maybe that's what love is. The mind's version of gravity, the desire to move closer, the instinct to orbit, the longing to not drift forever alone. You begin to wonder, if gravity can bend light, can it also bend time? Can it fold destinies? Maybe everything that finds you was always meant to. You feel the gravitational pull of memory now. People you've lost, places that shaped you, pieces of your past that still hold your name. They do not fade. They are not gone. They are orbiting somewhere in the shape of your mind. And just as stars collapse and rebirth themselves, you too are allowed to fall, to break, to gather again. Gravity teaches this, that collapse is not the end, only the beginning of form. Out here in space, even the void obeys the pull. Dark matter bends to it. Time curves like a ribbon drawn by unseen fingers. The universe is not straight. It is always folding toward itself, seeking unity. You float closer now to a forming solar system. Gas and dust spiral inward. A star stirs at the center. Around it, planets emerge like slow thoughts, each held in place not by rope or wall, but by trust. Gravity trusts. It lets things go, only to keep them close in motion. You watch a moon form from debris. You feel it catch into orbit. The planet below it tilts slightly, and seasons are born. A small act of balance, a small proof of love. The longer you stay here, the more you understand. The universe does not push outward alone. It pulls inward too. Both directions matter. Expansion and return. Solitude and connection. Creation and collapse. You are part of that cycle. Your thoughts drift now to your own gravity. What orbits around your heart? What people, what dreams, what sorrows are caught in your field? What do you hold without knowing? You do not need to answer, only to feel the quiet pull in your chest. The sense that nothing you have ever loved is truly lost. It simply follows a wider orbit. It returns in its time. The stars begin to blur now. As sleep draws near, your mind softens, your breathing slows. And gravity, kind, ancient gravity, keeps you close, keeps you safe. You are not falling. You are being gathered. You've now drifted across the folds of space and time, through the quiet pull of black holes, into the slow breath of galaxies dying, and into the silence that lives beyond the edge of everything. Black holes and the edges of forever wasn't just a story, it was a meditation, a gentle invitation to sit still with the unknown, to wonder, to soften, to realize that even in the emptiest dark, something is always reaching back. If this journey helped you sleep a little easier, or made you feel like your thoughts finally had a place to float, then please, subscribe to this channel to keep traveling with us. Leave a comment and tell us what part of the cosmos moved you most. Share this with someone who needs a soft place to land tonight. We're building a quiet corner of the universe together, a place where science feels like poetry and sleep feels like returning home. Rest now. The stars are still turning, and the edge of forever is never really the end.